girls, we wanted you to meet Ricky Lee because we know how much you like learning about awesome places around the world. And even though we know it's always almost the best place to be when we're home, but we like to dream as well and know about places from around the world. So Ricky Lee is somebody who we've worked with at Connected North for a couple of years. And every time he connects to one of our classes, he talks about his travel. And the students are amazed that somebody so young has done so much travel in his life. So we thought that he'd love to share with all of you as well. So Ricky Lee, we're going to turn it over to you. Can you see the students' chat?
I can.
Okay.
Of course, quite small, but I can see it there.
Okay. So
yeah.
If you have trouble reading it, I can read their questions. But Ricky Lee's going to talk about how he went from a small town to scuba diving, and you're going to see some awesome animal pictures, stuff that you're not going to believe. So over to you, Ricky Lee.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you, Mally. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I am really excited to be here to share with you today a bit of my story and to socialize a little bit and connect with all of you. And I wish I had heard some of these stories when I was younger, when I was your age. And again, I'm just really grateful to be here with you today. I've also been working on my language a little bit, so I'm going to introduce myself in my language, being New Channel. Uklama Amitla, Histachitla, Hupa Chaset New Channel, Suma Us. Hello everyone, my name is Ricky Lee, also known as Amitla, which means Blessed One in New Channel. I am from Western Canada. I grew up in Port Alberni, BC on Vancouver Island, and spent all my life growing up there. Never saw much opportunity in my future. I never saw myself traveling, although I always read about it in books. I saw movies and I saw all these wonderful places. I never thought I would be someone to go to the tropics or to be in the mountains or to be scuba diving or snowboarding or sandboarding even. All these things are some of the things that I've done in my life that I never had imagined when I was younger. And I have a lot more to tell you. But before going much further, I just wanted to test the chat box and ask you a couple questions, if that's okay with you. First, I want to ask all of you, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? I heard Mally mention Paris, Dubai, Thailand. Was there any other places people had mentioned before? Bermuda, Australia, Egypt? Oh my gosh, yes, yes. France? Oh, wow. Cuba, Mexico, New Zealand, Antarctica? Oh, that'd be amazing. South Georgia Island, penguins. Germany, very cool. I learned a little bit German as well. Ich heiße Ricky, komme aus Canada. Japan, very cool. Watashi no namae wa Ricky. My name is Ricky in Japanese. These are all great places to go. Amazing, amazing. Costa Rica, I've been there, so I'll share some photos of Costa Rica. Yeah, all great places. And another question I want to ask all of you in traveling, but also, what is something that makes you curious? Do you love learning about animals or about risky adventures or about meeting new people? What are some things that make you curious that you like to learn about? Honduras. Dinosaurs are cool. Animals, food, nature. Oh, yes, 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 yes. I love animals. There'll be plenty of animal photos. Food. I mean, everyone needs to eat food, and good food is important. Yes, people and their ways of living, culture, the ways we lead our lives, how to lead a happy life, be grateful, things like this. All around the world, people live in different ways, and it's really interesting to learn about different perspectives. Okay, awesome. New animals, places to explore. Mom says new food. Yes, new food is always great. Looks like there's a lot of animals in nature. Amazing. Food, yes, absolutely. One of my favorite foods. I love coconut. I love curry. I love seafood a lot. Anything fresh, fresh food. Oh, koalas. Very cool. Oh, koalas, Costa Rica, maybe. Awesome. Okay, without further ado, I'll share a couple things about myself. So I've introduced myself. I'm from Port Alberni, Western Canada, Vancouver Island. And personally, I never thought that I would have gone to all these places of which I've gone to now. There were some times very dark in my life where I never saw a bright future, let alone even much of a future. However, I'm very happy to share with you that I've done some amazing things over these past 10 years that I couldn't have even dreamed of when I was younger. And I mentioned a little bit already, but some of these things include climbing active volcanoes in Costa Rica, swimming in the Great Barrier Reef with sharks and sea turtles, skydiving in Australia, bungee jumping in New Zealand, and even receiving a deadly sting from a stingray. I've also poured my heart out in front of hundreds of people, received a hard-earned university degree, and have learned about myself, my community, and the world around me. Furthermore, I've begun to learn about life, love, and fulfillment. These experiences I embrace contribute to a journey that is fun, challenging, and inspiring. These are experiences you can have too, and I hope that in sharing my story, it may inspire you to pursue your own dreams, your own adventures, and see what may be possible in our beautiful world. So, let's start by looking at some photos. Everyone ready? We'll look at some photos together. Okay, grab my photos here. I'm going to first share my screen. Awesome. Yep, ready. Looks good. Okay, now let me know if you can see my screen. Very good. Okay, all right, we're going to begin with beginning photos here. Going back in time. First, we are looking at me as a very early youngster. This was me when I was in preschool, I believe, so about 4 years old. ABC preschool, good times, I was quite happy. Jumping forward quite far ahead in time, I then graduated high school. This is me graduating high school, graduation ceremonies, and it was a big moment, and just seeing what would be next after high school, because I never really left my home community, and this was opening the door to new possibilities and what might exist after high school. After high school, I went to university and I got my university degree. It was a difficult journey, but I learned so much. It was incredibly fun, and it just brightened my whole world by so much. After university, I worked as a recruiter for the university, meaning I traveled around British Columbia to go to different high schools and to different communities to share my story and to talk about what you can study in your future, where you can learn, where you can travel. And after working for a little bit, I made enough money in which I could travel. And here is an example of one of my photos where I was in the Rocky Mountains. And I was in the Rocky Mountains for 18 days on this trip in particular. And being here in this moment, it felt like such a huge achievement to climb the mountains, to be there, and to feel so small comparative to the monumental mountains. It was a dreamlike moment, and really something very, very special. And I want to show this photo in particular. To show what it may feel like and what it was like for me to be in these spaces. So these are the first set of photos to show you. And that's a quick look at the journey, but one of the first places I ever traveled to, which I'm going to show you now, is Costa Rica. All my life, I hadn't really traveled much before. I hadn't left Vancouver Island, let alone my hometown, and I'd always dreamed of far-off places. It came to be that in one of the National Geographic documentaries I had watched of all these animals and these special places of nature, I saw the tropical beaches, I saw the tropical forests and the animals that exist there, the monkeys, the toucans, the parrots, and I wanted to see what that was all about. And I began working a bit of independence in my life, where I started working. My family didn't have a lot of money. It was difficult, but I did my best. And I had different jobs where I started to build a little bit of income. And it was day by day. It didn't happen overnight, but day by day, I began to work towards my dreams of travel and seeing the world. And I knew I wanted to go to far off places and see what might be possible. So through working, I was eventually able to build enough money to travel. And I thought the first place I wanted to go to would be Costa Rica. So I just turned 20 years old for the very first time when I caught my first flight. And here are some of the photos from that adventure. There we are. So this is an old camera, but some of the photos turned out pretty well despite this. This was early 2013. A sunset photo, some vultures in a tree, a large toucan. So this picture here was actually at a zoo. I saw a couple in the wild, but
Yeah, and Ricky Lee, can you just make sure that you that we see the pictures like we have a little bit of time, because some of the students have slower internet.
oh yes, that's a good reminder. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry.
Is there also a way I can see the chat box?
So we just want to make sure that we see everything and enjoy the experience.
Well said. Yes, absolutely. Is there also a way I can view the chat box at the moment?
Sometimes when you're sharing the screen, I'll read the comments, but
Okay.
Aaron
Okay.
said, cool. Charlotte and Isaiah say, wow.
Awesome. In 7 years. Oh, I see the comments now. I didn't do the whole world yet. I want to. I'm very excited about traveling more and more, but the adventures just begin. And being humble, I know I must travel one place at a time, and I want to see as much as I can. So thank you, Melanie, for those comments and going slowly through the photos here. This was a beautiful sunset. I was only in Costa Rica for a few days at this point, but I was at this beautiful beach. And while growing up on the west coast of Canada, I would remind myself I'd always embrace to, let's see here, it'd be cold. It'd be very, very cold. And I'd be like, my friends and I, or either myself, would count to 1, 2, 3, and you jump in the very cold ocean water. But in the tropics, going in this water right here, it was almost like a dream. It was like bath water. It was so warm, and it was unlike anything I had experienced up until that time being in the tropics. So that's a sunset photo, and it reminds me of when I was jumping in the water in that area. And then in Costa Rica as well, there's a lot of different wildlife compared to what I was used to. And some of the first animals I saw, interestingly enough, were these vultures. Huge birds hanging out in a tree. I don't know, they're having a picnic or they're just hanging out there. Really interesting. And going forward, I then visited a zoo with my friend who I'd met. And I saw some toucans in the wild, but this was a close-up shot photo that I took of a toucan at the zoo here. Beautiful bird, really beautiful, very friendly. We became friends quite quickly. Going from the toucan, this is a white capuchin monkey. Very curious, very playful. This was a very young monkey, and that was really quite awesome. The next photo, what do we have here? Ooh, does anyone know what these two animals are here? They're taking a nap, they're sleeping. It's in Costa Rica. Yes, Aaron, you got it right. A sloth. Yeah, Elise and Dawson. Yes, these are sloths right here. Yeah, good job, May. Awesome. So these were two sloths, and I was like, wow, and they're just having a nap. And I'd say, I don't know, they're about a meter in size, tall. But I guess it does, doesn't it? Oh, look at that. Oh, I should hide that next time. It's okay. Well, that's good searching skills, everyone. So it's some sloths right there. So from toucans to monkeys to sloths to hummingbirds. Right here is a jaguar, huge cat, really amazing. I was just blown away by seeing that. Really cool animal. And here, I'm really proud of this photograph, but of this jaguar, these photos, this one's sadly not in the wild. I did see some jaguar tracks in the wild, but this was at the local conservation area, kind of like a zoo, but it was a conservation park where a lot of the local people will take care of the animals in that area and do rehabilitation for those animals. And here is a butterfly. I'm really proud of this photo. I feel like I could send that to National Geographic. You never know. Butterfly. Here is a tree frog, tropical tree frog. Huge eyes, green, really cool frog. Going forward further, yeah, very cute frog. There are a lot of monkeys in the wild. So this these next few photos, like that frog I showed you in the photo before, and this new photo here, these photos are in the wild. So these are two monkeys, a little baby monkey on the mother's back, climbing through the trees, another monkey right here, and then going from animals, showing a little bit of that different habitat in nature. The trees are very different, very different in Costa Rica, and they're just huge, very tall, very skinny. And later I'll show you some photos of trees on the west coast and in Cathedral Grove, which are massive. But here they're quite different and quite small. You have these skinny trees, but you also have really interesting trees like this. So I was adventuring and I happened upon this tree and I learned it was called a ficus tree, Fychus tree. And you could climb it and climb inside all the way to the top. So since I was young, I know it was so cool, so cool. And being in this tree, I was like, what? It's got little it's like a ladder. You can climb inside, and almost it feels like going to the very, very end. It could bring you to a whole new world. And I climbed all the way to the top and got an amazing view. And my friend took a photo of me. Yeah, it's like a tree fort you don't have to build. It's so cool. And another thing to mention is actually this next picture I'll show of these two different trees. I had drank some of the so sometimes when we travel, there's, especially in the tropics, there's dry season and wet season, while in the north we have the four seasons of fall, winter, summer, or sorry, fall, winter, spring, and summer. But there it's dry season and wet season. So I went during wet season and it will rain a lot. And a lot of travelers and tourists don't like that as much. However, it is a little bit cheaper. And being a little bit cheaper, it allowed my small budget to go that much further. And having my budget go that much further was great. But one thing happened where I drank dirty drinking water because of the mud that would mix with the water sometimes, and I got sick. And I got sick while I was in Corcovado, and I made it through. I was okay, but I was a little bit nauseous the next day, and I was climbing through the forest and going through the jungle, and at one point I almost tripped. And I had to, right here, I had to grab I had to hold myself up, and I almost grabbed one of these trees, and it looks like the one on the right. It has these huge protruding spikes. I feel like I grabbed it, would have impaled my hand, it would have hurt. The one on the other side looks very safe. However, yeah, the spikes would have hurt. But however, the one on the left had all these little red fire ants. And if anyone's heard of these red ants, they are very small, but they have this venom that goes with their little bite that it hurts so much. So it happened to me a couple times where I got little red ants on my arm. I had to get them off as quickly as I can because it would hurt so much. And these were the two choices I had, either a huge spiky tree or this tree with all these red ants. Yeah, the dangers of the jungle. Going from the jungle, I continued my adventure, and I was so fortunate to have the opportunity to scuba dive. Scuba diving, an incredible experience. I never really thought of it before. Oh yeah, fire ants aren't fun. They hurt a lot. Yeah, but in scuba diving, very incredible experience. It was quite challenging first to learn how to breathe underwater and use the gear I had there, with the oxygen tank and the mask and things like that. But I learned very quickly, and once I got a grasp of it, I had wonderful opportunities to go exploring into the deep ocean blue. That's my scuba diving instructor, Jorge. Very nice guy. So I was learning here. I was quite happy. Now jumping into the water, my camera wasn't the best at that time. I've since been able to afford better camera equipment, and I want to capture more adventures to show you and other people who I meet. But this is an old photo of some fish I saw, which you can kind of see there. And this next one's probably a bit better, where you can see a couple of sharks. Dun 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 dun. So the sharks right there, swimming in the ocean blue. They're swimming.
Oh my goodness, guys, so suspenseful. We are so sorry.
Bubbles.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh,
We lost you for a minute.
okay, all good? Okay, good, good. Thank you for that. Sharing a bit about the sharks and, oh, thanks everyone. Thanks for checking in. Sharing a little bit about the sharks, and I was amazed by them. I was a little bit scared because what I saw in the movies and things like this. Was it scary to see sharks? Yeah, a little bit. I never knew because the movies always say that sharks are very scary. However, I've begun to learn in my own experiences, in the world, as well as in reading about biology and nature. Um, Sharks are very important to natural habitats and they help maintain the ecosystems we're a part of. So there's that front. But on my side, being a little bit scared, my scuba diving instructor comforted me and assured me that a shark is more scared of us than we are of them. And with our flippers on our feet, the size of our body, the oxygen tank, and the bubbles that surface to the water, we look like this huge creature, so they don't really bother us. And more than anything, they're just very curious and friendly. So there's some sharks in the water there, and that was really cool. And in this photo, there's only 2 sharks there. But during this one 30-minute dive, I was in the water for 30 minutes. I saw about 15 sharks in that one dive, and really, really amazing. Really amazing. Yeah. This next photo is one of my final photos I have here of Costa Rica before we move to the next country. But I thought it would be a great photo to show all of you. It's beautiful, beautiful waterfall. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, it was really awesome. This next photo is paradise. Absolutely an oasis, magical, tropical heaven. This beautiful waterfall cascading down into the tropical rainforest. And at the bottom here, you see the water is so blue, so blue. I later learned why was it so blue is that in two places in the entire world, there are crystal clear waters like this. One is in China, and second is is in Costa Rica in this photo. This place was called Rio Celeste, the Celestial River in English, if you will. And with all that in mind, these waters are so blue because there's a mineral called sulfur, and sulfur mixed with the water turns the water a very light, bright blue color, like you see right here. Incredible place. Really grateful to have gone there. Very, very special experience. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, it was Arenal, La Fortuna Arenal. This river, I think a comment I saw there, was it near Arenal, which is a volcano. And it was very close to that area. And with sulfur in mind, great questions. You guys are very smart. The sulfur, it didn't smell very good. As you might hear, it sometimes smells like rotten eggs. And right here, I actually smelled it was okay, but there were certain areas along the river, it was very concentrated with lots of sulfur. And you could really smell that. Oh, wow, someone else has been there? Amazing. Ah, so cool. Yeah, I was amazed by being in this space and being right there. So that's one country. I've been inside an inactive volcano where the question I saw there, have I been in an inactive volcano? Yes. Being in that space it's filled with water, and we actually swam in this inactive volcano. We had lunch there by the little beach that existed, and really, really cool experience. Did I see a great white? I haven't yet, but I hope to one day. My favorite animal I saw? It's a good question. Good question. Um, I would have to say it might have been the sharks or even this little frog. That was a really cute frog I saw. Oh, white capuchin monkeys are very awesome as well. My favorite trip, Costa Rica was one amazing adventure. That was my very first adventure that opened up my world to more traveling in life. But my favorite, I'm not sure yet. Australia was also very amazing. And I'm going to show you some photos from Australia next. So jumping towards Australia for a moment here. there are some incredible experiences which I can show you. Starting from the bottom, I was in Australia, and expanding on the animals I saw, I was able to hug a koala, I went with a kangaroo. I actually saw many, many kangaroos. Some of them were huge, very strong kangaroos. After visiting some animals, I then went skydiving. I thought if I was traveling across the Pacific Ocean and going to a new continent, a new country, I wanted to make the most of my new adventure and step outside my comfort zone. And growing up, I was scared of heights, and I'm still mindful it's important to be safe. But one thing I've always heard about people doing, and I've wanted to try and do myself, was skydive. So I decided to do just that. Me and a group of friends, we all came together and we wanted to scuba dive and do this for the very first time. We're all very scared, a little bit nervous. I'm not sure if you could see, we're all a little bit nervous in that photo, but we were nervous and also excited. From being outside there, getting some quick scuba diving training, I was in the skydiving plane. I was excited. I think I was very nervous, but I was trying to be excited just to calm my nerves as much as I could. We were in the plane in that very moment, and we soon were high above the clouds. And being above the clouds, it just blew my mind that we were going to be jumping out of a plane way down to the ground below, and we had our parachutes with us, and each of us were quite new to it, so we would be paired with one person who was very experienced in skydiving. And this skydiving adventure itself costed me $300, I believe. And skydiving was a really incredible experience, very scary. As soon as they opened that door, the wind rushed in. Everyone was nervous, going one at a time, trying to pick up our legs to get to the edge of the plane. We jump out, and soon just soaring through the sky. Here, it was a surreal experience. I couldn't believe what was happening. I was out of the plane at this very moment, rushing down to the earth, and it was scary, exciting, and soon it was an unbelievable experience. I felt like I was flying through the air, seeing the earth below. Such an incredible, incredible experience.
Oh my goodness, it keeps cutting off at the exciting point. How do they take the pictures? There would be a GoPro on on probably the instructor. See how he's piggybacked on the instructor? So he would have a camera, right, Ricky Lee? How did they take the pictures of skydiving?
Yes, great question. Yes, the instructor right here, the fellow on my back, he was very experienced, and with the camera, you can see with his arm going down this way, he had it on his wrist, and having that camera on his wrist, he let's see here, he was able to take that photo. So with that, I got the photo for skydiving, and then I lived in Surfer's Paradise. There were thunderstorms, beautiful city below, and very
You are the most patient students in the world. This just gets more and more exciting, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. Yeah, Katie's on the phone with WebEx. Anyway, you keep dropping out a little bit, but you're back, Ricky.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks everyone.
Were you talking about the whales? Because we didn't see the whales.
Okay, yes, the whales. So here we are, doing whale research, pretty well whale watching for free, and having this incredible experience, seeing all these whales dive into the waters, coming out of the water. These are humpback whales, and it was this
So the humpback whale is doing what's called breaching. We don't know what's going on, Maxime. This is really frustrating for me.
Out there.
Yeah, it keeps glitching a little bit. So.
Oh shucks.
No, it's not bad Wi-Fi. It's just, can we go back to the whale pictures? Because I think the kids missed them.
Oh yes, of course, of course. All right, everyone, can you see the whale photos now?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Good, good. So I just wanted to show you those.
Which country is he in with the whales? He's in Australia. And I love all marine life too, for sure. So the humpback whales are one of the biggest whales.
And
it just keeps cutting out.
Oh no.
It's been happening all day, so I've got a feeling for the next session we're going to have to move somewhere else. But we'll just keep going. The kids wanted to know. Oh, okay. Maybe you could show the ding. There's some more scuba diving, right? We'll just.
Yeah. So from whales to dingoes, these really awesome, almost like coyote-like. Dingoes are like coyotes. They're like.
So May, for sure, I know that when you are skydiving, if there's clouds, you can go through them. I haven't personally done it.
Not many people go there. We were sailing on a boat when we got there. Beautiful white sands, blue waters. There with my friends. New spot right there. The sun going through the cavern right there. And then again, some pictures of me and my friends in Australia. So those are some photos of Australia. And I think New Zealand will be something pretty amazing for you to see as well.
Ricky Lee. Yeah, I know we've had it's
incredible moments like this.
Yeah, Ricky Lee, it keeps cutting out. Are you able to go closer to your modem or to hook up with an Ethernet?
Yes, I can. What can I do here? I can try hotspot my phone and use data. It's the best option I have at the moment.
Look at that image, boys and girls. That's called sand surfing.
Yeah.
That's New Zealand. Anyway, go ahead. The kids will compose some questions. Yeah, Tanya, we've
Is that working for everyone?
Yeah, we'll see if that works better.
Okay, I hope so as well.
Okay,
here we go again. All right, we went from Costa Rica to Australia to New Zealand. And now that we're here in New Zealand, showing a couple pictures of sandboarding, these giant sand dunes, going all the way down. I have my GoPro in my hand, an exhilarating experience, unlike anything I had tried before. Nothing I could have done in my hometown, and in traveling, I got new opportunities like this. So from sandboarding, I went traveling further, and I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, and I happened upon the Shire. I was in Hobbiton, in one of the Hobbit homes. Here I am living my sweet Hobbit life, having a good time. I have a few more photos of while I was there, but this is one example. Oh, question, did someone push me? No, a good question. I think someone can if they want to, but it's easiest if you have your board on your stomach or on your chest, and then you jump on your board, and then because of gravity in the mountain and the sand itself, it's almost like snow. You start sliding down very quickly, so you just jump onto your board. But going back to Hobbiton, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I love the movies, the books, and the adventures and the story. And being here was really, really awesome. So that was one experience I had going to Hobbiton. Made me so very happy. The clear thing in the photo was my GoPro handle. It was a little pole that would attach to my camera, and that way I got the photo with that shot. There we go. Continuing my adventures in New Zealand, great mountains, water, roadways. Here was the mountains, and I was mountain biking down a steep hill, and there are all these mountains surrounding me. Here's another photo of me adventuring in New Zealand, and then a quick story about going deep, deep in a cave. So I was 30 meters? I was actually 30 meters underground, and went to this place called the Waitomo Caves. And being here in these caves, it was very dark, and you can see little green lights right there. Right there, those are glowworms. And you can't see it as well in these photos, but these little glowworms, they have these little strands and this bioluminescence that will glow in the dark, so that when you turn off the lights from our flashlights there, it looks like Christmas lights. Christmas lights in the dark going through was really incredible experience. Saw a lot in that cave for the most part, and then I came out, was extremely happy because I tried something new. Thank you, very lucky. And then going from caving, I then went whitewater rafting. Whitewater rafting was my very first time. There's all of us right here. It was pretty intense, but everyone was okay. Yes, we're falling out. That's actually me right here at the top. I was trying to keep it secure and hold it down on the left side, like pressing it down. In the end, we flipped over, and a few of us fell out of our whitewater rafts. As you can see here, we're going down the river, and all in all, a very fun adventure. We're all having a good time. We're working together as a team, going down this very swift river, and at the very end, we're all very happy. And this is our whole group that went whitewater rafting. Oh, you did rafting near Ottawa? Nice, very cool. It's a really cool experience. Highly recommend it. And then while I was in New Zealand as well, the Maori in New Zealand had a really awesome opportunity to meet some people there. And we went to this space, this community, where travelers and tourists can have an opportunity to learn more about culture while there. And right here, I live on Vancouver Island on Western BC. And while here in this photo, myself and the Maori chief of this village, of this community, this was an experience of learning where one person, myself from our group, and the chief of this group here, we connect, and then we have our foreheads and our noses touching. And the idea is that you share one breath. When you share a breath, it's like you're connecting your spirits together, sharing that respect, that connection. Really awesome experience, a way of greeting each other. We were there for 2 days, had an awesome experience there. I learned a lot, including, I remember a little bit of the haka, the dance, but that's for another story, another time. Went kayaking in New Zealand and had a great time with friends. So those are some photos from New Zealand. Going to my next country, I actually was coming back to Canada. I spent some time in Haida Gwaii. And for Haida Gwaii, that is northwestern BC, northwestern Canada, very close to Alaska. Huge, huge rainforests like this. There were eagles everywhere. Many, many eagles. Picked up an eagle feather. some totem poles. There's one finished totem pole right here, but this next photo I'll show you was taken in Guayhanas in Haida Gwaii. And this was a totem pole actually carved hundreds of years ago. And thankfully is one space that's been maintained, protected, and being protected, it's a place to showcase old culturally modified trees. These trees which were carved into totem poles and the beginnings of carvings a long time ago, and a really special spot right there. Here's another finished totem pole in Haida Gwaii. What else do we have here? Climbing more trees, tree forts. Oh yes, Greg, that's awesome. It's very cool in Haida Gwaii. They have some great tidal pools, and the totems are very awesome. Culture is very strong there. So it's climbing some trees. I also harvested some food from the land. Oh, great question. It almost looks like a wolf may, but it's my friend's dog, a very large dog. I haven't learned how to tame wolves yet, and I mean, but yeah, it's an awesome dog, husky, that my friend had. This photo here, these plants are sea asparagus, and similar to asparagus that we might normally eat. Harvested this from the land. I would rinse it in water, and then I would fry it up as I would most stir fries, and make some food that way. So it was really cool to have some of that food from the wild, from the land there. While I was in Haida Gwaii, I read some great books. This is a book from My Nation, Potlatch by George Cloutessy. And while I was camping, I'd be at these great beaches and have quiet time to myself. One thing I really enjoy about traveling and being in nature. Really awesome spot here. Huge, huge cliff. This is the northern tip of Haida Gwaii. And while I was there, I was working in Haida Gwaii for 3 months with the Council of the Haida Nation. And working, it helped me pay for my travels. And while I was there, I was able to help the Haida Nation with different projects. And great experience overall. And they gifted me this necklace. This necklace is of a killer whale, an orca. It's a design. And it is made out of argillite. Argillite is this volcanic mineral, this volcanic substance which you can use to carve different jewelry like this. So I was really grateful for that gift, and a necklace that I have to this day. Going from Haida Gwaii, I have a few more adventures to show you before we leave a little bit of space for questions. I also spent some time traveling northern BC, doing road trips. As you can see here, going through the mountains. Jumping through, I think one thing I can really show is I went to this place called Gitsan. And while in Gitsan, I met this carver named Dan Yunks. He was a wonderful man, very experienced in art and in carving. And he gave me an opportunity to learn about the totem poles that he is carving right here. We had a great conversation. We shared an interview. He taught me how to carve a little bit. We would love to see, oh, I'll move this over. With carving, I learned a lot there. And actually, I have my own YouTube channel where, from this experience, I created some videos and put them on my channel online. And I've only begun doing this recently, but for some of my traveling adventures, I've begun to post this online, and you can see some of my photos and my videos online on YouTube. So this is some of the places I've been there. What else can I show you? Oh, great question. Oh my gosh, I should know this better. How do they stand up? My YouTube channel is just after my name, and Ricky. If you look up Ricky Lee Watts on YouTube, you'll see more video content that show these videos of these pictures and other places I've been to. Okay, awesome. Very good, Maxim. Awesome.
You're wondering how the totem poles
Yeah, I saw that question. I was thinking about myself. It's a great question because how do they stand up? I think there are different ways. I wish I learned about how it's been done traditionally because I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to get that wrong. but there are two ways. One is a bit more traditional, and there'll be some digging and creating space for the foundation. And then I've been around for some totem pole raisings for some modern totem poles. And in some cases, they'll have a concrete base and a foundation, and then they'll have a crane and bring the totem pole in. If that makes sense, like this photo of in Haida Gwaii, there's a photo of a totem pole in Haida Gwaii that was a bit different. So it's worth looking into and researching because I don't have the best answer for that. But
I feel like this next question was one that came up a couple times because I think it too. I'm like, wow, what a wonderful life you've had at such a young age. Where do you work and how do you afford all this travel?
Yes, great question. So where I've worked, how do I afford this travel? When I was young, life was challenging. I didn't have much money, but I had these dreams. Thanks, Katie, and for mentioning Maxon's questions and for everyone's question about that. Affording it is, having these dreams is one thing, and then affording the money and the means to get there is another. And I look at how I want to make these dreams a reality. I had to work really hard, and working really hard, I worked a number of different jobs. Some examples include I was a recruiter for the university, I was a tour guide, I worked in government, I worked with my own nation, I worked with the Haida Nation, the health authority, and all along the way, while I'm really, really open-minded, I'm super curious, I like to learn new things, I made sure to chat and connect with people who had similar interests as I did. And if there was a job opportunity available, I would try and take that job or help and contribute and serve in that way to be a part of that experience and build some money. And while I'm making money, I'm also being mindful because we all have different wants, desires, and priorities in life. For me, I want to adventure, to experience the world, to see what might be possible. And I wanted to put my money towards experiences. I didn't want a lot of clothes or a lot of things. What I really want are experiences and memories I'll have when I'm much older, when I have a family, when I have kids, when I'm a grandparent, when I'm sharing stories with the community, sharing stories with youth, sharing stories with the world. I want to have these experiences which I can share with everyone. So while I was working with one thing, we can all work in different things that interest us. One thing that's really important is to save our money towards what we want to do. If it's travel, amazing. Save your money towards a trip and have that in mind how much money it might cost. And if I may expand on some examples, Costa Rica, I was there for 5.5, almost 6 weeks. And I was able to budget the best I could. But my flight there and back, as well as zip lining, horseback riding, being in a volcano, scuba diving, and going to all these amazing places in Costa Rica for 5 or 6 weeks, that costed me $3,000. I have now just turned 27. Yes. And I never started traveling until I was 20 years old. It was my first adventure to Costa Rica. But I hope that helps on the finances and the money a little bit. Do you think I should mention more about that? Anyone? About the finances? Awesome, May. You found it.
Now, Ricky, were you part of any projects that helped you travel?
Ooh, great question. Let's see here. I think my first couple adventures was on my own. I had met a friend or had met someone who inspired me to travel or I knew was very safe to travel to because I had a connection which would support me. But I've seen recently over the past few years, there are actually a few organizations that help youth, Indigenous youth and helping people travel to these different countries around the world. And if you can, there are a few resources online that sponsor and fund your traveling. If you keep an open mind, you work hard, and perhaps I can send some resources afterwards. I'm not necessarily sure, but there are resources available for traveling to different countries. I think one is Canada World Youth, and there are a few other organizations as well that help support travel to different countries. So that's something to keep in mind for sure.
And this is a really good question too, because you've been to so many places, and what do you pack? Like, do you just take a carry-on or a backpack? Like, what do you take when you travel?
Good question. Let me think here. It depends where I'm going and for how long, but a couple of examples for what I might take. For when I went to Costa Rica when I was 20 years old, I was there for 5 weeks. I thought about where I would be. Would I be in the rainforest? Would I be in the city? Would I be in the jungle? And I knew that trip to Costa Rica was more adventurous. So I tried to pack things that were more suited to the outdoors. I think I had one or maybe two pairs of shoes. I limited how much shirts I had or how much shorts I had. One thing that was important, I made sure I had a few different pairs of underwear and socks. The base layers were important, whereas having like 10 different shirts was not very important. So I would try and minimize how much I would pack, because when we minimize how much we pack, it's a great way for us to travel light and to have that freedom, if you will. And then when I went to Australia for 5 months, I had a full suitcase as well as a large backpack, and I carried a lot more at that time. But I think for anyone traveling and thinking of what to pack, it's really important to think about where you'll be, what kind of environments, what kind of activities, and for how long you'll be there. And that actually makes me think I might create a blog post that might be helpful to some people at some point in the near future.
Absolutely. I think because that's always, you have to think, and you're right, travel light, and then you're traveling light and you don't need to worry about stuff.
Yes.
So, May wants to know so maybe you're just going to show some pictures as you're talking, which is a good idea.
Yeah.
Once we can start to travel again, where would you like to go next?
Once I start traveling again, where would I like to go next? Good question. I was thinking about, there's so many places I want to travel, but there was an opportunity for an internship in Nepal I was hoping to go to. Nepal is in Southeast Asia, north of India, and southwest of China. In that little area there, when you think of Tibet, monasteries, monks, the mountains, I was really hoping to go to Nepal and to explore that area. But at this point, it's really difficult to think about what might be available in our future for travel, at least right now. So I'm really open to what may be in the future regarding travel restrictions, but we'll see. I think for the most part, because I've traveled a little bit, it's given me perspective where I'm more so than ever before, I appreciate where I am right now in the world, and know that I can travel in my local territory. I can have new adventures in this area. And it's given me new perspective that while I can't travel abroad to many countries right now, and I will, and I very much hope to, I'm very excited to do so. So stay tuned in the future. Right now, I'm traveling in my local area and going to different parks and things like this.
Awesome.
Yeah. Here is a series of photos in the Rocky Mountains. I went there last June, actually. So I was there in June. Let's see, how do you learn languages? Okay, how do you learn languages? In learning languages, depends what languages we're learning. I've learned a little bit of like Danish and German from my friends who I met who were exchange students. So being my friends, we'd hang out a lot together, and sometimes I'd ask them, how do you say, my name is this, or how do you say it's a beautiful day? I'd ask them, and then I'd practice it, and they'd help me in that way. Another thing is there's an app called Duolingo, and there are other apps like this. Yes, perfect, Aaron. Other apps like Duolingo that are helpful in learning language, and just step by step and training ourselves. Just as we might study for classes, it's very similar and just takes practice. So the Rocky Mountains, we were hiking there in the mountains, me and all my friends, a horse there, beautiful river. and then ultimately a picture in the mountains, which I was very pleased for. I haven't been to Japan yet, but I really, really hope to at some point. I really, really want to. Rocky Mountains. West Coast, BC, Bella Coola, Clem 2.
Oh, Kieran wants to know, have you been to Japan yet? Have you been through there?
To Japan, I haven't yet. I really, really want to. I'm really curious about the people, mannerisms, the respect that everyone may show. So as someone mentioned earlier, this conversation we're having is the different ways of life. Japan really interests me. Take care, Tina. Really interests me, and it's a place I really want to go to, and I haven't been to yet. Hopefully someday soon. Greg, you're going to Japan. That's amazing. I'm so jealous. It's going to be an amazing trip. Picture of Vancouver. I'm at a conference. Ottawa. It's the furthest east I've been so far. Where do you, let's see here. There we go, fix that. Where do I eat when I go on my trips? It's a mix of places. Whenever possible, I try and eat local as much. I mean, I eat with people I meet. Sometimes I go to restaurants, but if I'm traveling on my own and staying at hostels is like group living for travelers. I will do my best to buy some groceries with some new friends I make and make dinner together with them. So that's what I do sometimes. I haven't been to Paris or Mexico yet. Oh, beaver tails on the Rideau Canal. Yes, I had that as well. They are so, so tasty. Really awesome spot there in Ottawa. As a part of this march in Ottawa as well, there's the Parliament behind us.
And I think we have like 1 more minute left, Ricky Lee.
Right, okay.
And I'm so sorry, guys, for all of the mix-up, like with the technology. We're working on it. Sigrid wants to know, do you bring your own sleeping bag? Good question.
That is a good question. When I went to Costa Rica, I had my own sleeping bag. And then when I was in Australia, New Zealand, I didn't, but I could have. And actually, I think a sleeping bag is a great thing to have if it's lightweight and you're able to carry it with you. It's a great tool to have if you ever need a place to stay. You have your sleeping bag available, and it can act as a blanket as well. I plan on doing a road trip around Turtle Island, around North America, whenever I can, and I will bring a sleeping bag with me. Your mom and dad live in Japan. I haven't been to Hawaii yet. I really want to. Farmers markets are now opening up, which is amazing. Quebec, I've only been to Gatineau, Quebec. I have a lot more to see in Quebec, so I haven't been to many places yet. But I wish I had more time to share with you guys. I got really excited about the photos I was showing you, and as well, apologies about the technology. But I'm really glad you've all been here with me, and just want to ask, is there any final questions for what I've shared with you and anything like that? Where are you from? I grew up in Port Alberni, BC, on Vancouver Island, and I'm now living in Victoria, BC, on the West Coast. Oh, yes. Do you get homesick? I saw that earlier. Thank you for asking that again. I do sometimes. And I think when I got homesick was when I was away for about 7 months, 5 months Australia, 2 months New Zealand. I started to think about home a little bit, but what really helped is that I knew I wasn't the only one who's feeling homesick. My fellow adventurers and travelers are also homesick, and we shared this experience together, and it felt like a new family that I had built while traveling. Will I do another session? I would love to, if that's possible.
Yeah, totally possible, because we have, and for summer camp, we have Adventure Week, and it would be great. It's just so wonderful always to connect with you, Ricky Lee, and because I know you have so much. Kieran said his mom lived in Japan for 6 years and your dad for 5 years. I didn't know that about them, and yeah, that is awesome. I'm sure that they were teaching. So right now, I think you put Japan high on the list for travel, Kieran.
Yes, that's amazing. I can understand that, Kieran, you would also be interested in going to Japan. That's awesome.
So we're going to say, and Greg's mom lived in Kenya. It really shows that we're an international group. So we do need to log off now because we have Josh coming in about 15 minutes to do his cougar session. And we are so grateful, Ricky Lee, that you were able to connect with us. We loved it, and we will be inspired to dream our dreams and save for our trips. And thank you so much. This